Yeah, hi, my name is Linda, and we were just talking to you and your neighbors about the acoustic in the air today. We want to ask you, do you think things will ever get better?
What was that? Are you a Jehovah's Witness?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't. I'm a Jew and I don't support all of this stuff, so not interested.
Okay, thanks. Have a good day.
Do you think things will ever get better? No, I'm a Jew. Leave me alone. That's how I handle that one, Stephen.
You just sounded miserable. I do not support what you do. Leave me alone. She's like, okay, thank you. Have a great day.
I think I might have been at the Phillies game on the field or something before the game started. Oh, no. Yeah, I think I was in Philly. Yeah, I think I was at the Phillies because there was like a 5 o'clock doorbell ring on like a Friday. I don't know what day it was, but this isn't the first time that a Jehovah's Witness has rang my doorbell here at the studio. And I should probably put up a sign that says, no Jehovah Witnesses, no Mormons of Latter-day Saints, no assholes, no anybody. Don't touch my doorbell. How about that? Unless you're UPS or FedEx or USPS. Speaking of, hey, Stephen, how about the great, and I'll get back to the Mormons in a minute, the whatever they're called, the Jehovah's. How about the great doorbell yesterday for the FedEx driver who didn't
ring the doorbell?
Who didn't ring the doorbell? Oh, how about the UPS driver who says they tried to deliver at 9:29 a.m. yesterday?
Who wasn't there?
Who never showed up. Oh, so they take our stuff to the access point in the ghetto, which is only 0.6
Which
miles
is literally
away
down
from
the
here.
street from your house.
It is. It's on literally the other side of the tracks.
You're like, it's not in a good area.
L.
I'm like, I Google mapped it. I'm like, it's a block or two away from your house.
Yeah. Did you look at the heroin people just floating there?
It's just insane how quickly it turns in that area.
Like I go there, I walk into that store yesterday to pick up the A9, and I was hoping to have the other. I had 2 packages coming. They had one, and the UPS losers failed to even attempt to deliver again.
And like you said, this is like a little bodega in the not a great area, you know.
But Stephen, they did have fresh bananas. I did notice the bananas were perfectly ripe. They weren't dead. That was good. But I walk in, you got the one person playing scratch off. You got the one person with their walker with no teeth. You got the guy buying cigarettes who came on like a shitty scooter. I mean, it's just like, it's not, I've driven past, I don't like driving past this area. It's Philadelphia. I don't like driving past that specific area. But anyway, FedEx, Express guy is good. The ground guy, terrible. The UPS guy normally is good, but they lie and say, oh, we attempted to make a delivery. Prove it. Prove it.
So you had left for like an hour the other day and you're waiting on UPS to deliver the A93, and the UPS driver rings the doorbell. He then proceeds to literally start walking away immediately, doesn't even wait for someone to answer the doorbell, and then just starts walking to his truck as I'm trying to talk to him on the speaker, like, hello, we'll be back around in a minute, hello. And he's got his AirPods in, not listening, and then just drives off. It's like, dude, you didn't even give us a second to answer the door.
One job.
Yeah.
Back to Jehovah's Witnesses, Stephen. So
here we go.
I get a doorbell. I look, because, I'm not sure we shouldn't be getting a doorbell on a weekend, generally speaking, unless it's the kid down the street trying to be like, yo, what are you doing?
Can I get another camera?
His bike. I gave the kid a camera. He's what, 12? I put that kid at about 12.
Roughly, yeah.
12, 13. He's on the cusp of growing into one of those locals. So this kid, I was like, whatever, you know what? I'm going to give this kid a camera. Maybe it will help him and maybe he'll figure out what to do, whatever. But every time he comes around, he doesn't have the tact to be like, hey man, how's it going? It's like, yo, bro, yo, what are you doing?
Yo, let me see those muscles, yo.
Yeah, dude, all he ever asked me is to see a couple years ago, he's like, let me see that 6-pack. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? I'm not going to just lift my shirt for an 8-year-old and show you my 6-pack.
The best part is he rolls up yesterday with a brand new looking bike. I told Jared, I'm like, I guarantee he sold that camera for that bike.
He didn't sell that camera for that bike, Steven. I should ask him to bring the camera around and prove it.
You should.
He might have, but that's not for me to worry about. Yeah. Now, can I get back to the Jehovah's Witnesses, Steven? You keep distracting me from Jehovah.
I know.
Brother Jehovah.
It's all my fault.
So this woman rings my doorbell, and I can't hear her because she has a mask on. Well, you're talking to my Ring doorbell. What'd you say? What? How much?
Is that Charlie
Really?
Brown's teacher?
So this isn't the first time that they've rang the bell, but it's like you're not going to get COVID from my Ring doorbell. You're also outside walking, waddling around. There were 3 of them.
Yeah.
And so I've been down this road before, so I know exactly the leading question that they ask. And she asked it a little different this time. The first Jehovah Witness, and I try to be nice, and as my audio recording tells you, I was extremely nice in a very pleasant manner.
Definitely had a positive tone to your voice.
Very positive tone. Why the fuck are you bothering me? But the first time they came around, they asked these questions like, do you think we're better off today than we were 20 years ago? Because and so I was like, yes, we are, which puts a damper on their question because they ask a question that they know they're going to get an answer to the way that they want. It's all marketing and it's all scammy. They are fucking scam artists. So what she said is, do you think things will ever get better? And I'd be like, what do you mean? I own 5 properties, soon to be 6.
Do you know who I am?
I'm like, what do you mean? Do you think things could get better? Have you seen my muscles? Have you seen my many properties? What do you mean? Do you think things could get better? Yeah, there could be a pho place on the corner. It could get better.
I mean, unfortunately, I think they prey on people that are hitting rock bottom, that need some help, need something new in their life, and that's how they recruit.
They recruit people that they feel like they can brainwash into joining them. Ding dong. Hello? It's me. Do you think things will ever get better? This is Goofy. Mickey, I think things will get better. Now an Eric Cartman voice. Ma, there's a Jehovah Witness at the door. Will you tell them to kindly fuck off? Anyway, I kindly told them to fuck off. I just bring up I'm a Jew and I don't want what you're pushing. Go away. And that's that. That's all I have to say about that. So hopefully the Mormons don't come around anymore, because when the Mormons come around, their kids are like 17, 18, and they know nothing. Maybe I should try to corrupt them or something next time and just be like, look, why don't you free your mind and go discover the world yourself? Whatever. That's just beside the point.
You should say, do you want to go to temple today with me, actually?
Oh.
Flip the script around.
Oh, yeah. Actually, would you like... I'm about to go to the porn store down the street. Would you... Actually,
take it
sorry.
that way.
You interrupted me. I'm watching some porn right now. It's kind of like the beginning of The Whale. Remember The Whale?
Oh,
Did you see the movie The Whale?
I did, yeah.
Brandon Fraser? A great movie, man.
Not Frasier, but Fraser after
That's
all
what
these
I said.
years.
Fraser.
No, I know you said it correctly.
That was a good movie. He was great.
A good movie, yeah.
He was fantastic. But yes, that I should be like, hey, this is porn. And but you look, if I open my door and there so happens to be porn on, that's not my fault. I'm in my private residence. And
just blasting in the background.
Doorbell. Oh. Hold on. Hope it's a Jehovah Witness.
The irony. Blast the porn. Blast the porn.
It's 9:41 when you delivered it. That's funny. Oh, man. Have a good one.
So what'd you get?
It was not a Jehovah's Witness. It's actually the brand new iPhone from Apple.
Oh.
But do you know we want to know something ironic?
What?
It's 9:41.
What does that mean?
Well, look at the time on every advertisement on an Apple iPhone. It's always 9:41.
Oh, that is funny.
How crazy is that? I got a doorbell at 9:41 of the Apple iPhone.
What if the FedEx guy was like, yeah, they made me drop it off exactly 9:41?
No, I asked if he was a Jehovah's Witness. He's like, no, not a Jehovah's Witness, but I'm an Android user. So let me wrap up my final thing of someone who rang my doorbell once. It was right before Christmas, and the doorbell rang, and the guy was like, would you like to join our vigil on December 25th? And, I'm thinking, all right, someone got shot in the neighborhood like normal, and they're having a vigil for them. And I'm like, well, who died?
Jesus Christ. Well, actually, he was born.
I was like, oh, go fuck you. I was like, get out of here. Get out of here. Why are you bothering me? Why are you ringing my doorbell asking if I want to join a vigil for Jesus? Jesus is dead. I don't, what am I? No, I'm not going to join your vigil on December 25th. And that's all I have to say.
Such a
about
mean-spirited
that.
person.
I'm not. I don't go around knocking on doors being like, hi, would you like to talk to Moses? Hi, I'm Jared. I'm Jewish. Are you happy with the state of the world today? Well, if not, become a Jew and be hated by almost everybody. Like, that's like, well, could you imagine that?
Do you guys get solar people knocking on your door in Philly?
No,
Or no?
but I get the Verizon people a lot.
I get solar nonstop, and the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's about it.
You get Jehovah's Witnesses too? How do
I've
you
gotten
how
a
do
few
you
of them,
handle
yeah.
it? How do you handle that, Stephen?
I don't answer the door. It's that easy.
But you let them go on thinking that they just no one was home, but you were actually home?
It's the beautiful thing about having a garage and parking in it. It looks like nobody's home. Empty driveway.
Speaking of driveways and cars, we got some messages from some Subaru men owners of Subarus who so happen to be men.
It's a rare thing.
And say they're straight. They say it. They say it. I like if the shoe fits.
Just piss them off even more.
Read the text message, Stephen. And by the way, I'm kidding. By the way, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. I have many of trender flag, gay pride flags. Oh, by the way, have you seen the new gay pride flag? It now has like a circle, a purple circle on it.
I don't believe I've seen this now.
But do you know what's absolutely insane?
What?
South Park did an episode about people making money off of flags. And so they couldn't make American flags sell enough of those. So they started selling rainbow flags. Someone came in with the idea, or actually maybe it wasn't South Park. Maybe it was just an Instagram meme. And so they go from making American flags that no one wants to buy to selling rainbow flags. And then they're like, well, we need to come up with a new model. So then they add brown at the bottom, right, to the rainbow flag. Then they're like, we need to come up with a new model now because sales are down. So they come up with something else. Then they add a triangle. Then they add the pink. And then they add the circle. This is literally what's going on right now because the latest flag that I saw for gay pride and transgender awareness now has like a circle in the top of it. It's literally that meme.
The crazy thing is most of the Philly row homes, at least in your area, you have just such a odd melting pot of flags. It goes from like one row home is Trump City, a whole shrine of Trump, and then the next one is gay pride everywhere. And then the next one is back to Trump. It's just like the OG Kenzo people, the Trumpsters versus the new age hipsters.
So I just found a website called Flags for Good, which is probably made by, I don't know, but it says intersex progressive pride flag. That's the flag that I've been seeing. It's all the colors of the rainbow. Then there's diagonal lines intersecting. And then now there's a circle that's purple. I got to get it. It's purple. I got to get it. Multiple. And it comes in multiple sizes like me.
You know what flag I have? The American flag.
I have no flags because I do not support it. I just want to see where these people are located and if they really, really are like flags for good. Flags for good is anyway. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, Stephen, but you had to make me go there, so we had to talk about it.
This episode is off the rails as usual.
Yeah, what did the guy say in his text message?
Well, I swear there were multiple texts about the Subaru issue that we were talking about, but I can only find this guy's. He says, your stereotype of Subaru owners might be true back east where most people pose as being outdoorsy, but here in the West, people of all genders and orientations either drive Jeeps or Subaru. The biggest Subaru dealer in the country is in Colorado, and they wouldn't be that big if they just sold to women or a certain inclination. Keep up the good work. I really do love the podcast.
What was my reply?
Well, Jeeps suck. We all know that. Typical Jared reply.
By the way, if you are offended or have something to say, you can text us at 313-710-9729. Let us know how offended you are. We'll be very happy to read it on the next episode of RAWtalk. Yeah, obviously the Subaru thing is a joke, but it's kind of true. It's kind of true in this area.
Stereotypes exist because they kind of lean towards the truth.
I do see a lot of people driving Subarus that are alternative. They probably are flying the intersex flag. I'll just say that.
There you go.
No, I mean, I just had to come back to the intersex flag again. But no, it's a stereotype that probably has base it's not baseless, and that's not a problem. Don't really care. They've unbelievably done a great job in business for being able to market to a certain sect. Now, to say that it's just East Coast people that pose, I beg to differ. A lot of people that have Subarus are strapping kayaks to the top of their fucking Subarus and going kayaking and tenting and hunting and not hunting and camping all the time. So don't say that they're faking it, whatever your name is. That is very judgmental of you, and I'm offended. All right, let's move on to some photography stuff, Steven.
Yes, please.
We put out an official statement the other day, and it was funny. The official statement for why I turned down or declining the award for best large format photographer in Philadelphia, and Steven did an amazing job editing this and making it look like a press conference, and then someone's watching it on TV. I didn't know what to expect when I turned it on, but I sat there and I watched it.
Well, my initial idea actually was going to cut back, not to the same TV, but to different like living rooms and cut to like the billboard in like Times Square, cut to all these different places and you doing this big speech. But I was like, I can't spend that much time on this. I can't be keying every green screen TV and spending days on this project. The funny thing is, I think a lot of people, after we released this, they initially thought it was a joke. A lot of comments were like, we heard you talking about it on the podcast, didn't think you were actually going to do a video about it. And I don't think to this degree, this level, they didn't expect, an actual looking press conference, which I thought it was fun making this video. I know initially you were like, let's just film it in front of the fixed set and I'll just read the teleprompter. And I'm like, let's make it look like an actual press conference. Make it fun,
That's why we have a lectern with a cross on it.
Which is not shown in the video, but
oh, shit. Oh, man.
I was looking for mics to put on the table. I'm like, man, I want to make it look like a real press, all the microphones on the table and stuff like that. And you had a flag that said French Fry Critic. Why do you even have that, by the way?
Because I bought a website called FrenchFryCritic.com where I was going to go around critiquing French fries.
like Dave Portnoy, but for French fries?
It was before he did that. But yeah, but then I was like, how many different French fries are there?
One bite. Everyone knows the rules.
And I don't like shit on my French fries other than ketchup. And that's it.
You would like the most plain, like boring French fries.
I like crinkle cut that are good. Man,
crispy. They gotta be crispy.
I don't like the crispy. I don't like the beer battered, crispy outside, crunchy bullshit. No, screw that.
I hate when they're soft and feel like they've been sitting out for like hours.
Well, that's different. I'm not a fan of that.
I'm talking
either.
more like that. So yeah, we ended up making this look like a real press conference. I had you print out a bunch of iShootRAW and Frono's photo logos and tried to make them look all terrible looking on the back. I think it worked out well though. I even tried to mimic like what a press videographer's POV would look like. So we would cut from that angle to the main press conference angle, back to the TV angle. And that was one of the hardest things was the overall sound mix, cutting to each different source. So, you had the TV sound effects, you had the in-house reverb from the press conference. You had more reverb added and a little more tinny sounding when it cut to the POV angle. And then all the sound effects on top of that from the shutter clicks, the flashes, the woohoos, the whistling, the people cheering, clapping. I probably have over 125 sound effect clips in that project file alone. That was definitely the most time-consuming part. But it was a fun video to work on. The only reason I agreed to do it is because I thought you had a perfect clickbait title from day one.
And we had a good title from day one that did really well early, and then the video kind of died.
Which I'm very surprised about because it's you in front of a podium with the title Official Statement from Frono's Photo looking all serious. And it's a 5-minute video. It's an easy click.
Yeah, but I'd be curious how many people came in and were like, oh, this is a joke and
Instantly.
I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
And so bounce rate, like that tells me, it has 49,000 views, which isn't bad.
It looked pretty normal though. If you look at the curve where people dip off, which it's always the first like 10 seconds or so. It's every video. But that looked pretty average.
Yeah. I mean, there were people, it looks like people dropped off as normal. I mean, the average watch time was 45.2%, which is very good. People like when you talk about YouTube, if you have people are happy with 20% watch times, but we get 50, 60% watch times when it comes to Photo News Fix. That one does well. Yeah. I mean, that's a straight line across that I'm looking at right now. And average watch time on the last one was 4 minutes and 47 seconds for 54.2% watch through rate, retention.
As we've always said, gear pretty much runs this channel in terms of views. And luckily with Fix, we tend to title it based around gear. When it's topical like that and you have a certain brand name that someone wants to follow, you know, they're a fanboy of that particular brand, they're always clicking on that video and watching all the way through to see what you have to say or see what the news is about that particular brand.
Yerp. You know how I mentioned the lectern? Do you know what the lectern would be perfect for? I should buy a church. I know
exactly where you're going with this.
I should buy a church just to put that lectern in it.
By the way, real quick, before you move on to that, where did you get this lectern? Trash
from the guy who got shot 4 times in the face selling drugs out of his house, who used to have that thing called Knickknacks for Peanuts, which was next to the place I got pho every day. So his front, he had a store that was masquerading as a antique knickknack store, but really people would bring him stuff and then he'd take them to the basement and try to sell them drugs, because he tried to solicit me for drugs many times. But I'm like, dude, I just want this payphone, or I just want this rotary phone. I want all this cool little gadget shit that you have. But I did not like going into the store, because you would look at the riffraff that would come in and buy shit, and he knows I wasn't going to buy drugs from him. Turns out he ended up, I got the Liberty Bell from him. He ends up getting shot 4 times in the face in a drug deal gone bad.
Jeez.
Lives. He's probably in jail. I don't know anything else about it at this point. But one day he had the lectern sitting outside, just like on this, the store set upstairs. He had the cabinet. The glass cabinet?
Well, that actually makes sense. I'm so glad you got that, because
he was throwing that
really
out.
Sells the look of being in a photo store.
Yeah, he was throwing that out. And another time he was throwing out the lectern. I'm like, I want that. It was sitting out in the rain. I'm like, I'm taking that. He's like, yeah, all right.
The lectern does look like legit trash. Like someone trashed it. It's super beat up. It's a mess.
Has a cross on it, Steven. It's a sign. It's a sign, Steven. I should go buy the church that's for sale.
Yeah. How much is that church?
Well, it's listed at $3.5 million. Oh my God. I would not offer $3.5 million.
You'd have to be close.
I know. I wouldn't. Fill you in on a little bit, guys. There's a photo studio. I have a friend who's owned a church for 20 years. He bought it for $400,000 20 years ago, which in Fishtown, that's pretty prospecting for him to come in that early.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of money renovating this and solar panels and living there with his family and doing photo shoots there. It's an impressive structure, 60 feet tall, Civil War era church. He's done a really fantastic job. Didn't expect him to be selling it this soon. We always discussed the possibility of me buying it in a couple of years. But unfortunately, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not good timing. It just might not be economically sound. I think I could totally pull it off. We would have to rent the new studio, move everything to that place.
When is enough?
Steven, it's a church.
Well, what's the square footage look like? I think we have, 5,000 square feet at the factory? But that's not counting the basement, which is probably another 2,000 square feet.
Oh, I mean, the main studio is I don't know, 5,000, 6,000 square feet there. The sanctuary is, I can't even tell you how many square feet the sanctuary upstairs is, with 30-foot, 40-foot high, 30-some foot high ceilings. Crazy. Yeah, in the 2 rooms you could have everything, and there's a basement too. I think there's 3,500 square feet just in the basement, not counting all the storage. I mean, it's an impressive, and the side lot for parking. It's an impressive thing. I've looked at it a couple times, run the numbers, talked to financials peoples. It is doable. The crazy thing is it's doable. I just don't know. Let me let you in on why I would want to do it. There's 92 feet upstairs. That's enough for putting in bowling lanes.
That is the only reason you want this place, isn't it? I guarantee that's the main reason.
The next place I buy will have enough room for potentially putting in bowling lanes in the future. So that would be a massive undertaking to do that. There is so much due diligence that needs to be done to go into a 150-plus-year-old church, which is unbelievably stone. It's a great stone structure.
For sure.
But it's a big nut to crack every month. Though, hold a boot camp, you pay your mortgage. It's possible. But it's a big undertaking. We'll see what happens. The ball's in my court to decide if I want to make an offer or not make an offer.
You can have fun moving everything over there because I'm not doing that again.
We're hiring the 10 Russians again.
Yeah, and I had to set everything up. They just brought it upstairs and I had to then move it everywhere.
Well, the good news, Steven, this place, if we moved in, wouldn't have to take all that stuff upstairs this time. And it's being used as a photo studio right now. And it's just, and you could live there if you want. There's a beautiful stained glass, unbelievable. Not a lot of Jesus iconography because I think it was a Methodist church he was saying, and they didn't do a lot of iconography like that. There are some Jewish stars on clothing. It's interesting in the stained glass. It's pretty cool. But I'll just let you know when I buy it, and then we're moving, and I'll just call it a day there because
have fun setting everything back up.
Don't know if I could get the pin setter upstairs, a free fall pin setter. So I don't know, man. Unless they come to me with something like an offer that's too good to be true, probably not happening is what I'm settling on right this second, Stephen. Just letting you know.
Until you call me tomorrow. Hey, I bought the church.
I mean, come on, a Jew in a church. A Jew in a church. And I would put up the bat signal outside. I would put up a Fro logo where the stained glass used to be, 60 feet high up with light behind it. And it would be a new Fro logo, but with a Jewish star around his neck.
Jewish star
around his neck. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's an impressive building. Anybody that goes there is like, holy shit.
Yeah, I've been there years ago. And I remember pretty much from day one working with you, you have always wanted that building. You always had your eye on that.
But that was before I had like 4 other buildings.
No, of course. I'm just saying from day one, you've had your eye on that for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, because he and I discussed it for 10 years, the last 10 years, that he was going to move when his kid got to a certain age, and it just so happens to be he's getting out earlier than he expected. So it is what it is. Not sure that's going to happen, and it's okay if it doesn't.
Just as we finally have everything set up at the other place.
Yeah, but if I could get a good amount of rent for this place, it makes that other place easy. It's crazy.
Another place that's a perfect place to film in. High ceilings, wooden creaky floors. Perfect.
Well, that's the sanctuary. You wouldn't even go upstairs.
If you get it soundproofed, then I would consider moving over.
You could soundproof those studios. Yeah, that's real easy, I think.
Yeah.
You should see those. The one's like 2,000 square feet. No, one's not 2,000 square feet. They're a little less than that. They were renting them for 2,000 and 2,500 respectively. And they have their own kitchens and bathrooms in each one of these units. And they're just big units. And you literally could set up multiple sets. You just put in blackout shades and set everything and forget it. And you're good to go.
That was actually a pretty good segue for once. Getting into that church conversation.
Yeah. Well, so was getting into the car as well.
Yeah, you're on fire today.
All right, moving on. I finally have a Sony A9 III here to use. Actually, technically, there's 2 Sony A9 IIIs here to use, and the 400 2.8's in the middle of the ghetto because I have to go drive over there to pick it up at that freaking bodega. Isn't it crazy knowing that there's like a $14,000 lens just sitting
chilling
in a box over there?
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
I find it crazy that that's a UPS access point in that area.
Well, it's good to know now because maybe I could drop packages off there. But I've seen people hanging out in front of that place if I had to drive through North Philly before to get back to my house, which is literally 0.3 of a mile from there. It's insane. You go from $1 million houses to like boarded up entire blocks of row homes.
Yeah.
It's just within a half a mile, just literally on the other side of the tracks.
And that's usually what it is. It's just the tracks that separate everything. The L, for example, with Philly, the second you pass that L, oof.
Do you know why it's called the L?
It's elevated.
There you go. There you go, Steven. Winning. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a pat on the back. All right, so an A9 III finally showed up, and I've wanted to get an A9 III for the entire time that it's been out. But every time I've tried to from Sony, it's been like, well, the Olympics, well, the World Cup, well, they're all here. They're all there. Well, I'm like, well, do you guys realize that, sure, you're giving them to professionals out there to use, but if you just took one of them and gave them to me, there would be more content around using Sony cameras. It wouldn't sound all like Canon. Because one of the discussions I had, they're like, it seems like you're putting out a lot of Canon stuff. And I literally said, Well, that's because I have Canon gear. They send me stuff. And it's not saying that Sony doesn't. It's saying that Sony had a change a little while ago where they'll send you loaner gear to review stuff, but then ask for it back within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you expect us to do even longer? I mean, this is first world problems. I could literally go buy the product if I had to. I could go buy the product and then I would own it. But when you've gotten to this point, which we've gotten to, back in the day, I was able to get stuff from Allen's. I couldn't get stuff from companies. But when you can get stuff from companies and have it here so that, like, we have a Z9, we have a Z8, we have a Z6 III. When we go and do the next video guide, we're going to use the Z6 III because we can show you the EVF data for educational purposes. Like, when we can just grab and go, we can do that. Like, I do that with the A1. I do that with the A7 IV. Now I have the A9, which is really what I wanted to use for baseball.
Well, and it's great for comparison's sake too. You know, when we want to do those specific comparison videos, it's nice to have everything on the shelf. Like we recently just did the Z6 III versus R6 II versus A7 IV. We did the entire R5, R5 II, R3 lineup. We did the A9 III a few months ago when you had it for a few weeks for the Africa trip, right?
Yeah.
So we got that done already, but we had to send it back. So we really haven't done any more content with that specific camera since. And like you said, unfortunately, Sony asks for everything back now at this point. So we don't have that much Sony gear anymore.
No, but I bought a 70-200. I bought a 50 1.2.
Yeah.
So I bought the lenses that I wanted to have for the Sony cameras. And this is like I said, first world problems complaining.
Of course.
But no, this is how it's done, right? You get loaners of varying time, but I to sound pretentious, we're more important than some photographer at the World Cup that might borrow one of the 100 A9 IIIs that you take there. And why do I say that we're more important? Because we are influential in this industry. We influence people's buying decisions. And if that's buying a Sony A9, which I thought was a fantastic camera that I used in Kenya, but I needed to do more.
Yeah.
I need to see how the autofocus fully is, again, shooting things that I know.
It's why we never did a full-on review after the initial preview. We did a couple of the ancillary videos, like the autofocus review and stuff like that, but we never did a full review because we had to send the camera back.
Yep.
And you just didn't feel like you had enough time with it.
No. And now I have, also, I don't have, I can't borrow fun to photographer gear like a 400 2.8, a 600 f4, an 800 5.6. Like I have access to all that stuff, plus all the RF glass to just grab and go. Another reason to have this is like there's a lot of Tamron lenses and Sigma lenses to review. There's Sony lenses to review, and I do not like the A1 anymore in terms of autofocus.
I will say Tamron and Sigma, they usually give us plenty of time with their lenses. They do request them back, but they'll let us keep them for weeks, months.
Oh, no, Steven. No,
Sometimes
Steven.
we just forget to send them back.
They don't let us do that. I skip the return period. I get these emails from Check Room. You haven't returned this gear. It was due back. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We're not done yet.
See, I'm typically CC'd on like Sony, Canon, Nikon stuff, but not so much Sigma and Tamron. So I never know when to send them back. I try and send them back as soon as possible because I know if I don't, you never will.
Yeah, if I had an assistant, like there's just something that holds me back from working on certain things.
But there's so many times where you're like, what should I be working on right now? And you could just look around the room and pack up stuff to send out. Stuff that needs to get done.
Steven, I got in at 7:45 this morning and I took the trash out. I cut up boxes.
But how often do you take out the trash?
Every week.
No, you don't.
I do.
All the cardboard boxes you take out every week?
No, not cardboard boxes, Steven.
You take out like one trash bag. That's it.
I do. One trash bag of my leftover. So I told you I got smart. I used to throw my Walkworks lunch leftovers, close it up and throw it in the trash can. But a week later, it's going to smell. Now I store that in the refrigerator, and every week I just empty the refrigerator of it and I take that outside.
Smart.
I'm an adult. Yeah.
An adult. A man-child. What?
Who owns how many properties, Steven? Right now, 5. Could be 6.
It's tempting.
Could be 6. It is tempting. But let me make something clear about, buying properties. I don't spend money on anything. Like, the only thing I spend money on is dinner. Like, that's my expenditures. I don't drink. I don't buy Porsches. I don't buy other cars. I literally just spend money on buildings and food. And that's it. But I collect rent, Steven. When you collect rent, that allows you to move into the next property. That's how you do it. Someone else is paying the mortgage for you, which means the money's not coming out of your pocket and you're building equity. I don't know. It's kind of a smart thing to do if I say so myself. Grant Cardone, 10X. I'm just kidding. Screw that guy.
Once you can afford that second property, then it's just all downhill from there. It makes it a lot easier to move forward with buying multiple properties. But it's that initial second property purchase is the hard one because you have nothing really paying for that.
No, I mean, we did that for a long time. Remember?
Yeah.
The Fro Factory.
We had long discussions about that, and you were very skeptical about buying a property, and I don't blame you at all. And that was probably, at the time, the biggest purchase you've ever made, right?
Yeah, that was a little more expensive than the house I bought.
Yeah, but look at you now. Best thing you ever did, probably, right?
Look at me now. Well, now that there's a renter for a long-term leaser in there, that's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
They're in for life. They're going to want to buy it. So, back to the A9 III. I got the A9 III here. I really would have loved to have taken it to the Phillies game to put against the rolling shutters of the non-global shutters of the A9, R5 Mark II and R3, just to have, like, literally the A9 would be what's that word called? The control. Like, this is what the baseball bat should look like. And I should shoot it at 120 frames a second raw, Steven, so that I have every frame of the swing.
Every frame to match up with the other ones that shoot a fraction of that frame rate.
Yeah.
It would be the control because it is that instant 0 millisecond readout. The entire sensor is reading at the same exact time, pixel for pixel, where like the stack sensors of the R3 and the R5 II, which are actually fairly slow when you compare it to the A1 or Z9, the competition, they're around 5-6 milliseconds roughly. And you can't even have like a mechanical shutter as a control because even that is still somewhat warpy at 2.5 milliseconds, 3 milliseconds, something like that. So the global shutter really is a proper control for these rolling shutter tests that we recently did.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the Phillies they're going to be in New York. They're playing the Mets, but I'm going up tomorrow to the Mets Phillies game, which I've never shot a game there.
And just for context, what we're talking about, by the way, we just did a video comparing the R3, the R5 Mark II, and then the R5. And basically we wanted to test out the rolling shutter of each using the electronic shutter only. But again, there was really no control. We didn't really know how warped the ball should look or not looked because they all somewhat have a slower readout than, obviously a global shutter. So if we had an A9 III, you could really test and see how bad it is when you use these other cameras or how good it is. Now, to our eyes, they looked fine, minus the R5. But again, you don't really know unless you're comparing it directly to something like an A9 III. One thing I did notice about the comparison video that we did is the R5 II. It seemed like Adobe Lightroom specifically was rendering the file brighter than the other two. And you use the same exact settings across the board, the R3, the R5, the R5 II. And I noticed that the R3 and the R5 looked pretty much identical when it came to color and exposure, but the R5 II, for some reason, was like a quarter stop brighter and the shadows were lifted, which perceivably made it look like the noise was a little worse, but I think it's because of that extra brightness that Lightroom was adding in. And I remember when the R5 initially came out, there was an underexposure issue that Lightroom was doing. So every time you brought it in, it was like 2/3 of a stop underexposed, and you had to correct for that. Eventually, Adobe came out with an update, I think in October of 2020, and they fixed that. And then it properly rendered the file. But I had to go back and adjust all of my edits because everything was then half a stop overexposed because I corrected for it back then. And I think they're doing the same thing now. I think they're rendering it wrong and they're going to work out some kind of firmware, work out some kind of update in their rendering because it definitely is brighter than the other two. Yeah,
my hope was the Phillies are home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I was going to go to those like Monday or Tuesday to take 400-2.8 and take two other 400. I'd take the Sony 400-2.8. I'd take two Canon 400-2.8s, put an R3 and R5 Mark II on there, and have the A9 III standing there. And then I would just literally grab each one and handhold it, trying to get the same batter just for control purposes, for comparison purposes. It looks like I have to go on a shoot on Monday, Tuesday, coming back Wednesday, but I got bowling on Wednesday, which I think I will forego the bowling and maybe pre-bowl if I can to then be able to go to the Phillies game because it's the last regular season home game. I'm not going to do testing during the playoffs. Like playoffs? Maybe I will. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know if I want to risk. You should probably just shoot like you would normally shoot like you would cover a real event, you know?
Yeah, except for the fact I'm debating using the 4x5. I'm really thinking of using the 4x5.
I do think that's different, especially because that you've already been doing that project for a year now, right? So leading up to the playoffs, I think that makes sense being a part of that project.
For this season, the baseball season.
Correct.
But what I could potentially do is like I went the other day and I tested out some 400 ASA film, 400 speed film, and I haven't developed it. I'm going to process that today because it was tests, right? I was doing tests because I want to know the lighting during night games.
Oh, that was the game I was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was the game I was testing.
Yeah.
So I just want to know for playoffs purposes what the 400 ISO film looks like because I don't stay for entire games. The first entire game I stayed for the other day was it was an afternoon game, right? It was a 1:35 start, so I don't mind staying because I can have dinner later anyway. And I was using the 800 5.6 and doing a great job with it on the R5 Mark II. I was just on it. 2 games in a row, I was just on it. Really good stuff. So that was good. But I got to process these 400 ISO sheets, see how that looks. But when I went to the game, the Phillies were playing the Mets, and I know Sean Manaea. He's a pitcher for the Mets. He's also into photography. I did a bunch of really nice 4x5 with him because he gave me like 30-some minutes before one game that he wasn't pitching when he was in Philly. We did some awesome 4x5s. Well, he talked to some of the other players and they're like, well, they would like some pictures. So I brought my 16x20 book out to the field and I end up showing it randomly to their PR people. There were 2 Canon PR, sorry, Canon. There were 2 Mets PR people, Mets security. They all saw this book and they all saw the work that I was showing to Sean and the other players. And they're like, this stuff is great.
Wow.
Like, that's really impressive. But that's why you bring a 16x20 book, right? That's why you don't turn the phone around to somebody and be like, look, here's my phone. Look at this great picture, which is smaller than the actual negative. It's not impressive. But when you can print something, and I know I hammer that home all the time, it's just so much, even if it's an 8x10, it's impressive.
Well, and just especially this day where everything is digital, there's not really many tangible prints that people throw around. So I think when people see a print, they're like, whoa.
Exactly. It's not the same. So they helped. The PR people there were extremely helpful with wrangling a couple of players. There was Pete Alonso, who's their first baseman. They call him the human polar bear. He is because he's strong. I shook his hand. He shook my hand and I was like,
ow.
Now that's a handshake. No, I didn't say ow because it didn't, not like he tried to hurt me. And I have a pretty strong handshake too, but he is, oh my, his hands, what a grip. That was amazing. Like how strong. I'm like, that's rock solid. That's incredible. But yeah, these players athletes are just on a different level.
Are you the type of person that judges somebody on their handshake?
I mean, usually the perception is reality. So if you look at a dainty person and a dainty dude and they go and shake your hand, usually it's a dainty handshake. If they drive a Subaru and you shake their hand, it depends on which gender they are because you know the women are going to shake your hand and have a really good handshake. And most of those men, not going to have a great handshake. Get ready to text in, Subaru guy. Tell me about your handshake.
They probably give dead fish handshakes.
Yes, dead fish is so there are times where I shake someone's hand and I get a bad grip.
It's like a penguin handshake.
And then we release and I say, I'm sorry, I want to do that again. And we do it again because I'm like, I didn't get a good handshake. I didn't get a good grip in there. I didn't want them to think that I have a dainty handshake.
See, my issue is I have clammy hands. So I always try to just go in for the handshake really quick and just, I don't really take my time giving like a nice firm handshake because I have such clammy hands. And what I normally
do, Steven, yeah, I don't shake your hand very often. Or when you pat me on the shoulder and my shoulder is like soggy now. And I'm like, why are you doing that, Steven?
I constantly have to like wipe my shirt before I give a handshake because I just constantly have clammy hands. But the good thing is that my hands are super soft because of that.
That's
constantly
great.
Hydrated.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Steven.
You're welcome.
I usually skip handshakes with men and go straight for the hug. I almost said go straight for the blowjob. What? I go straight to my knees. I skip handshakes and go straight to my knees. Now, I like
Speaking
hugging.
of knees, on your knees, by the way, every time we take a thumbnail, I'm outside of your place on my knees, like right next to your crotch area.
Because you have to
I'm
get
like,
close with
people
that.
looking at us right now, if they're looking from behind, they probably think that.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares? No, I actually like going in for hugs for people. And I will hug friends awkwardly long.
Bring it in for the real thing. That's what I like to say.
Awkwardly long, just for shits and giggles, to see if someone can handle it or not.
I don't mind hugs. Yeah, but some people get weird about hugs, I will say.
They do, because they feel like, oh, it's a guy hugging a guy. It's perceived as gay, and it's like it's not.
I think it more like a brother thing to me.
Yeah, I have no problem hugging people. It's all a state of mind, right?
Of course.
It's all a state of mind. A hug's a hug. It's like no one's like making a move on you. It's not like when you get into the passenger seat of a Subaru, you should be worried that you're automatically going to want to buy a Subaru now. Steven, why do you keep beating this dead horse?
I don't know, man.
Are Subarus even good? Like, do they last, right?
I think. I don't know. I don't have one.
Well, their commercials used to say, we have more cars with 100,000 miles on it than others, I guess.
I believe it. I just think of the Crocodile Dundee commercials.
I don't remember those.
They were the old school 90s commercials where they're driving down dirt roads and going through uncharted territory.
The opposite of who their demographic is today.
100%.
Look up the car, the Subaru Sidekick. It is the worst. Oh my God. Subaru Sidekick. I got into one of these convertible ones once that someone was driving, and it felt like a tin can going down the street. And if it felt like when you turned, the thing was going to roll over 7 times. That's what it felt like. So I got an email from the PR people at the Mets. Well, I followed up with them because I wanted to send in some of the prints so that they could show the team owner, who really loves baseball. Obviously, he's a team owner, but he loves baseball. He loves the Mets. I want to photograph some team owners. Well, they reached out to me, and the team owner's wife will be at the field on Friday and is down for getting portraits. She's a longtime fan, like a lifer of the Mets. And okay, I'll go up. Plus, they're playing the Phillies. So there's opportunities for other stuff. And so I'll make the 2-hour drive. Hopefully it's 2-hour drive up there, and take some 4x5s there, because you never know where it's going to go. And it's not like I'm aiming or angling to get something specific other than more cool portraits. But if you run into the right circles and the right people, they might be like, you know what? We want you to do this for the Mets next year. Like, we want you to come up a bunch of times and create something similar to what you did with the Phillies, and we'll do a gallery show and charity event and everything, and pay you. Like, I just want to create. So hopefully that does happen.
And it all leads to these opportunities.
Yeah, if I didn't have the, the funny thing is, like, me shooting film and it just, but it's different because it's 4x5. Also, on Saturday here in Philly,
I love that you still back that up. It's not like shooting film, though. It's 4x5. It's much better.
It is, because I'm doing the processing myself. I'm not a hipster. I don't drive a Subaru. And I am developing it all myself and doing it myself. And it's harder using a 1940s camera and lens. But on Saturday, the Savannah Bananas have sold out Citizens Bank Ballpark.
Wow.
I am going to go there to do some 4x5 with the person that I know, who I'm working with on trying to work with, and he's a producer, bowling, the bowling show thing. And he's going to be meeting with the founder of the Savannah Bananas because they worked out something. And then the Phillies owner is going to be there, John Middleton. And I don't have a portrait of John Middleton this year to go in my book. So I will use that introduction I will take my 16x20 book there. I'll show John Middleton, the owner of the Phillies and managing partner, and get a portrait of him. Get a portrait of my buddy, my friend who's the producer, who's a longtime Phillies fan. Getting a great portrait of him will be awesome. And getting one of the Savannah Banana guy will be awesome. You don't know where this stuff is going to go. And I just want to create more cool shit.
Yeah.
So I will fill you guys in on all of that. But the last thing that I want to talk about is trying to come up with a title for my second book. For those of you who don't know, the first book was the Bernie book. Didn't expect to sell as many, a lot of those because it's divisive, but it was still really good photography and a really good book. But I've been working on a second book for a year at this point, and the layout is basically locked. We're ready to go to print, just waiting on a few things. And the other thing we need to figure out is what's the title.
Well, you have a working title that is almost a final title, but it's also not a title.
So to put it into the book is about my music photography, going back to like 2002 when I first started shooting. My first concerts from the Counting Crows were there, and that's what I photographed. But it's like 20 plus years of my music work. And it tapers off more after 2016, 2015, because I got tired of shooting concerts after 14, 15 years of doing it. But I will only go if I have all access. So the book starts off with, I only can do 3 songs and out. So it has my early film stuff, and it has some early digital stuff where I didn't have the access. But very quickly, you start to see sections of access. So a lot of it is about the access that I have. The working title I have, Stephen, is Book 2. I like Book 2.
When you initially told me that, I'm like, well, what are you going to call it? You're like, Book 2. I'm like, no, really, what are you going to call it? Book 2. I'm like,
I like
that's
the title.
not a title.
But I don't think there's any title that we could come up with.
If you called Book 1, Bernie, if you called that Book 1, different story.
Well, you never know it's going to be Book 1 until you have Book 2.
Fropack 1, for example. You knew there was going to be a Fropack 2, Fropack 3, Fropack 4.
Fronosphoto.com/Fropack is what that web URL was.
Yeah, but you always called it Fropack 1 from day one because you knew there was going to be more presets. If you called Fropack 1 something else and then you called it Fropack 2, doesn't make as much sense as Fropack 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, so I am still leaning towards Book 2 because I don't know what else to call it. I don't want to call it All Access. I don't want to call it 3 songs and out. I don't want to call it Doors Open because all these other things would be the same thing as Book 2. You still need to explain it. And it's not like it's going to be sitting on a bookshelf.
But All Access makes much more sense than Book 2. I can just simply instantly know all access you had of some event.
I don't like the title. I don't like All Access. I don't like it. You guys can send in title ideas to 313-710-9729.
Well, I put together a list, more like a general brain dump, just to kind of jumpstart some ideas. Do you want me to go over that list?
You can read the list, and I'll just sit here with my buzzer.
I think you're going to buzz all of them. So, but the list initially was All Access. Obviously, you don't like that. Direct support.
That's like a jock strap.
Backstage pass.
Meh.
On the road. Road. Roadie.
No.
From the pit. Credentialed. I like From the Pit. But then again, there's a lot of backstage stuff too. And
exactly. So it doesn't encompass it.
Book 2 doesn't either.
Book 2 is Book 2, Stephen.
Okay. I like it. You're trying to think of something. You're like, it's Book 2.
I don't even know if Book 2 will. Well, I guess was Bernie on the cover. Did it say Bernie?
Correct.
I don't think it said Bernie on the cover. Do you have the book right there?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me check.
Oh, it says Bernie in the top left corner. In the
yeah, it says Bernie, and in the slip cover, it also says Bernie real big.
Right on the top left corner of the cloth, it says Bernie. And my name, Jared Polin, is in the bottom left corner. I have no problem with it saying Book 2 up there. Currently, Perry Farrell is on the cover of the book. Very timely right now.
He hasn't been in the news at all, right?
No, maybe.
So finishing this list, we have Credentialed.
No.
I Shoot Shows.
No.
Which I think the guy...
no, that's Todd Owen Young.
Yeah.
Todd Owen Young did that one.
Yeah, he owns
Big mistake, Todd. Big mistake becoming a Nikon ambassador for shooting concerts. Woo! You're missing the boat on autofocus for shows, bro.
We've got The Opening Act. Oh, this one's a good one for you. Ego Riser. Stage
left. The fuck is an Ego Riser?
It's the thing, the platform that the singer stands on.
Okay, now that takes more explanation than Book 2, because you know what Book 2 is. It's a book, and it's my second one.
I'm just saying, at least it has a theme around what's in the book.
36 exposures, 36 exposure, expose yourself.
Exposed. The story of
No.
Jared Polin.
No.
We've got
I don't like all access. Showtime.
I don't know. I mean, I think All Access is a decent one, or From the Pit, something like that.
And I don't like From the Road because I wasn't on the road that much.
Knowing you, it's going to be called Book 2.
Well, why don't we get out some Chat GPT?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's get onto some Chat GPT. I got to log in. I haven't used this at all. I rarely ever use this.
But seriously, while Jared's looking that up, if you guys do have some good title ideas, send them in. Something themed around music photography, if possible, but not so generic like the list we just listed off. Something more unique and makes sense to what the book is about.
Okay, I'm going to come up with a prompt here. A title for a printed photo book
About music photography.
about music and concert photography on tour and backstage. I'm going to hit go. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm hitting go. Here are some creative title suggestions for your photo book about music and concert photography. Behind the Sound, a journey through music and moments. On tour, backstage and beyond. Candid Rhythms, the faces of music on tour. Echoes in Focus, a tour through music and memory. Fucking A, bro.
I thought you didn't want long titles like that.
I changed my prompt
Okay.
for the next one we're gonna do, but Echoes in Focus, sound waves in like unplugged, behind the stage and on the road.
I like that. I do like
Sound
that.
of Scene, a visual diary of concerts and backstage life. Beyond the Spotlight. So basically it gives you the beginning.
That's a good one too.
Beyond the Spotlight, capturing music's hidden moments.
Dude.
Live and Unfiltered, a tour photographer's lens. The Pulse of the Stage.
I feel like we need to stop reading because we're going to use one of these.
The Pulse of the Stage, music moments and memories. The Sound Within, backstage pass to concert photography. So I'm going to save these 10, Stephen. Each title emphasizes the blend of music, concert action, and the exclusive backstage perspective you're showcasing. Oh, okay. Switch models. You can switch models? I didn't know this was a thing. Try again. No. Oh, it can read them to me? I'm going to click good response, but I'm going to redo it again. Oh my God, Steven, this is crazy. Those are pretty impressive. This is why, like, doing AI, but for purposes for this, makes total sense. This is incredible.
I mean, just to get the ideas churning too. You know, I've definitely toyed with AI titles for YouTube a couple of times just to be like, oh, I didn't even think about going down that route.
I have it doing 100 of them right now, Stephen.
I liked Beyond the Spotlight a lot. I liked Unplugged. You know, I didn't realize it was going to be like Unplugged : the story, the behind the scenes of concert photography or something like that. I thought you wanted a quick, like, one word title, like
I
Bernie.
do for the front, but then you could put it on the inside cover.
Yeah. Honestly, just Beyond the Spotlight is solid.
Dude, it's still going. It's still going. Oh my God. Oh my God. We're going to Behind the Sound. It already did that. Tour moments in focus. The Road Unseen, backstage and on tour.
That's a good one too.
Echoes in Motion, a concert journey. Raw and Unfiltered, the music scene up close. Lights, sound, action, capturing concert magic. Unplugged, a backstage perspective. The Backstage Lens, music in the making. On the Road Again, no. In the Shadows of the Spotlight. Fucking In the Shadows.
Yeah.
Fly on the Wall. I can't do Fly on the Wall, can I?
Well, I actually was going to put Fly on the Wall on my list, and I think that's too generic.
Captured in Concert, Sound and Vision, Life Behind the Music, Moments Between the Music, Stage Left, The Tour and Beyond, Amplified, Backstage Stories.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Through the Lens, On Tour and Backstage, Live and Loud, a visual record of concerts, captured in
really
sound,
good.
The Life of Concert Photography, Lights and Lenses, Concert Photography Unleashed, Unseen Soundscapes, The Backstage Experience, Amplified Moments, Life and Concert Photography, Between Songs, The Quiet Side of Concerts, Focus on, except for when I have those groupies naked, Focus on the Music, a Tour Photography Experience, Behind the Beat, Raw Rhythm, Soundscapes, Offstage, The Life Beyond the Lights, Rhythm in Focus, Backstage Chronicles, a Visual Music Diary. Jesus Christ. Beyond the Noise, a concert in focus, in concert, behind the stage, capturing chaos, amplified vision. And that just keeps going and going and going. The silent side of sound, weird, because how can you have the silent side of sound? On stage and off, a visual concert experience. Huh.
I'm a big fan of Amplified and Beyond the Spotlight.
Echoes of the Road. The sound behind the curtain, a visual journey. Steven, this is insane.
Some solid titles.
I asked for 100. They're getting a thumbs up for me. This list captures a range of themes from the intensity of live music, the energy on stage, to the quieter moments backstage. You can mix and match elements to come up with the perfect title. Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Oh, that's a quote, Steven.
What's that from?
It's Almost Famous.
Oh.
Crazy. When he's on the phone with him, he's like, hey, can you do that thing you do when you jiggle the garbage disposer again? He's like, I know how I get when I don't jump to it when my missus asks me for something. Crazy.
Oh, when he's on the phone with the Rolling Stone guy?
Yeah. Ben Fung Torres.
Yeah.
There is a Ben Fung Torres documentary on Netflix, by the way.
Oh, I've been meaning to watch that, actually.
Yeah, I think we're going to end the show, Steven, but holy Jesus, can you believe all that stuff it just came up with?
Well, let us know what your favorites were, because a lot of them stood out to me. Like I said, I think Beyond the Spotlight, Amplified, something like that, solid.
Beyond the Spotlight. My forward has been written by Robert Costa. If you know Robert Costa, he's a writer.
Yeah, he's in music, right?
He is the main political correspondent for CBS News now. Not Bob Costas, Robert Costa. Talking about Robert Costa. I call him Bob because I've known him as Bob since he was 15 and met him.
Bobbert.
But yeah, Robert Costa. So yeah, he's I asked him to do it because he's big into music and he's known me for the last 20, he's known me for my music career. So I was like, holy shit, I'm going to ask him to do it. And he did. And it's a really good forward. So we're going to wrap up the episode. It's RAWtalk 119. Steven, anything else you want to add today?
That is it.
Kind of flabbergasted by all of these different titles that the chat GPT came up with, because that is pretty intense.
I don't know, man. I still prefer book 2.
Yeah, me too. Book 2. Woo-hoo! Look, if you can have a song called Song 2, I can have a book called Book 2. Hey, was Song 2 the second track off the album?
I don't know.
It's Blur, right? Blur?
Yes.
Song 2. What album? Song 2 is a song by English rock band. This song is the second song on their fifth album. So yeah, it is Song 2 on their fifth album. Yeah, that tells me I can do book 2 if I want. We'll chew on that. You guys chew on this. Please let us know if you have any questions, concerns, comments about Subarus to 313-710-9729. That's all I got to say, Steven. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.